Welcome to Wildspire. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate conversations with entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto, coach, storyteller, and unmarketer at The Awakened Business, helping coaches and change-making entrepreneurs unleash their inspired message and share it with playful unmarketing. I'll ask curious questions and explore uncharted waters with my guest today. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. My guest on today's podcast episode is Muddassir Altaf, and he is such a delight for me to talk with. I could just listen to his voice. It's a musical voice, and he has my favorite laugh in the whole wide world. I forgot to say that as I greeted him. His laugh is something I wish I could bottle up and save for those moments when I most need it. Let me tell you a little bit about Muddassir's background. He is an international consultant, coach, speaker, and facilitator. He is the co-founder of The Little Giants, coaching, training, and consulting organization primarily focused on building a safe and empowering culture in organizations, societies, and families where we work and live. Muddassir is a registered 3PG practitioner, a certified 3P educator, mentor, and a coach by Back to the Fitra Mentoring Academy. He is also a certified trainer of NLP and a certified coach by ICF and Marshall Goldsmith. Muddassir also has a background in neuroscience-based coaching and training. Without further ado, I invite you to a delightful conversation with my friend Mood. My friend Mood, it is so wonderful to see you again. I'm so happy to have you here on my Wildspire podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I think I want to begin with sharing what I associate with you and why I have always loved talking with you. Whenever we've had conversations, I feel like you are a poet. The way you express words has always moved me and created a lovely feeling of presence for me. And I very much enjoyed, I remember you were the first person who used this word like tickling, like Stephanie, you tickle, like you tickle me. And
yes,
I
remember
loved
that.
it. I loved it. And it was like, oh, the metaphors you use are so evocative, and that's one of them. And has always been such fun engaging in conversations where I get to do a little tickle, a little provoke, a little like of that trickster thing of, ooh, what mischief can I be up to with my friend Mood, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what I think about when I think of you and why I love spending time with you.
Thank you for the kind words. You just took me back to our beautiful time together exploring. So yeah, it's fresh. It's fresh for me too. Yes, and that's very true in whatever you said. That's very true. Yeah.
So what would you most love to explore in our time together today?
So a lot has happened in my life from the time we left. In a way, I would say, when we met to now, which is over a year for sure. Okay. And one of the things which is very current for me is living fearlessly and fully. Okay. So perhaps we could explore that.
Wow. Well, what does that mean to you? Living fearlessly and fully.
Well, that means everything. Because to me, that is end of insecurity And that is beginning of unbounded courage. So, and this is coming from someone who's lived his life surrounded with insecurity all the time, and I didn't even know it as any other way to live. So I know what's possible now, to see what's real and what isn't. Okay. So that's why living fearlessly and fully is very true for me. That's how I experience life beyond my habitual insecure thoughts, which is still around, but it scares me less. So, and I see that more and more and more. And this is very, very current for me because the last couple of days I've been having some thinking going on. So this is like fresh again. Yeah.
So what brings the end of insecurity? As soon as you say that, it's like the end of insecurity. I thought, wow, I like yourself, I have had a lifelong journey with insecurity. And I think a lot of the time I knew it. Like it was so familiar to me. Oh my goodness. I just thought, I mean, maybe I didn't realize there was a choice. I thought that's just the way it felt to be in the world, habitually insecure, constantly questioning myself. So where do we find the end of that?
So for me, the first thing is the misunderstanding that those insecure thoughts, that feeling is coming from the thought, which I have been growing like a farmer. I have been not cultivating my field consciously, intentionally. And when I'm not consciously and intentionally working on my field, something grows. And more often it is wild plants. So in my case, it's just some random thoughts, which I thought is my truth. And that's how it felt to me, my truth, like I am this and I'm that. So, but now I know it isn't. So I was recently traveling with my wife after a very long time. And this metaphor of the farmer and the land comes from there. We were traveling in the train and I saw fields, okay, agricultural fields. And some fields had agricultural crops and some fields had wild plants. And I had a moment, I was smiling and I was telling my wife, you know what? One is intentional, another isn't. And I really saw our mind is like that. When I'm not intentionally choosing to live the way I want to live, then I'm giving space for anything to come into that space and it just grows. That's how it works. It has nothing to do with me. That's how it works. Okay. The land, you can't keep the land empty. Something grows in it. Okay? It's meant to grow. So when I understand that, it's impersonal. That's how it works. Okay. Now, innocently, I thought that's me. That's the truth of who I am. Like all the stuff about, I used to think I'm I'm not good enough. I have a manufacturing defect, and God created me um, in a way which is less than others, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. So the choice, I see that's not true. That's really not true. That's because I don't feel like that all the time. Okay. So it's just the habit of some familiar thoughts which just comes back when I'm not intentionally doing something. So what has really, really changed for me is to see the power of our intentions, which is like the seed which grows in a quiet mind beautifully. Okay, it can't not grow, because when your intention is clean, it's like a potent seed. It just grows. Now, the interesting thing about a farming land and our mind is, one is physical, another is spiritual. So you can't see it. Okay, it's an everyday thing. So one day it seems like I'm growing something, another day I get up and I notice like I don't feel very well. Okay, seems like something else is in my field. Now that feels like that, but that's not really true. So this understanding, which is the inside-out understanding, the three principles, the inside-out paradigm, you just name it, which Sydney Banks articulated. I think the biggest game changer for me is seeing the choice, where I'm putting my attention. Okay, on the wild plants, which I didn't grow, and it vanishes when I'm busy with something else. Okay. Or what I want to grow. And that changed my life forever. What I want to grow is completely up to me, and I don't have to grow anything. So it's not a survival thing that I'm going to go hungry like a farmer. I don't think farmers grow it to feed their family, just to feed their family. They grow enough so that they have enough, and they have enough to sell it or just give it away. So we are like that when we choose to grow what we want to grow in the space we want to grow. In my case, the path of service, of serving myself and others. That's a choice, and I get to exercise that choice because I want to. We are all exercising our choice anyways. I have been exercising my choice of believing those wild plants to be my truth. In my case, those insecure thoughts to be my truth. I was exercising my choice. I didn't see that. So we are always exercising our choice of choosing what we want to put our attention onto. So now This is a serving choice, serving myself and others. The other one isn't. It's not serving anyone. So why would I grow something which is not helpful to anyone? That doesn't make sense anymore. So that's why I call it end of insecurity. Is the more I see the default is the ability to grow anything. That's the default. Okay. So if something is growing, which means, okay, so the system is working. The system is working. Okay. It is a potent field that anything can grow. So yeah, that's why I call it end of it. Yeah.
Mm. There's something in what you're saying that reminds me of something that I've been seeing. Maybe you'll tell me if you see that too, or if you see it a little differently. That I'm going to stay with your metaphor, which I really like, the mind field. That so many times, not knowing that there's a choice, I might give my attention to the wild stuff that's growing in the field that looks like, we'll call it insecurity or problems, what's wrong, things should be different, all that troubled thinking, wild, growing wild, just coming through, coming into my field and taking root in the fertile soil of my mind. And it looks like I need to put my attention there because I don't like it. I need to get rid of it. But what you said was that as soon as you're not thinking about that, as soon as your attention is not there, it disappears. It doesn't exist in the field of your mind anymore. And what I have been seeing is that it can be that simple to take my attention, which was here, and to suddenly just orient it with what I want, with what I'd like to create, with the intention to serve, as you said, with the intention to experience joy, aliveness, just reorienting myself to something else that's beautiful, that has always been there. And now I'm creating with that instead of the wild weeds. And that is so simple and so powerful. Have you been seeing that too, or something different? Or
at times I feel what you're saying, the simplicity of it. And at times what can be confusing when we are exchanging those words. And obviously people who are listening, they're going to be listening to our words. Maybe this is a good reminder for whoever is listening to listen beyond the words. Just feel what we're saying. Let the words wash over so that they can experience what we are experiencing in spirit. Because that's the whole point. And I'm just going to go with the simplicity, what you're pointing at, the simplicity behind the design. And I'm going to call it the divine design. Now, the reason I say divine is you can't see it. You can't see it in form. Okay, so you're not going to go into a discussion of what is divine. Like, I'm just going to call it something which you can't see. It is in the background. Okay, so you can't see it with the physical eyes. Okay, but it just exists. The divine is in the simplicity of it. What I also see, Steph, is the kindness of that design. So when I say living fearlessly and fully, okay, the word fully comes for me because when I'm not afraid of taking that personally, thinking that's something to do with me and that's happening to me now and whatever, right? But that doesn't mean I run away from it. You can't run away from it. It's that's seeing. For example, let me give you an example. I think that'll make more sense. So last few days, like 2-3 days, I've been having something. I've been having some stuff going on for me in my mind. My mind's been a little busy. Okay? And the good news for me is I noticed that this is happening for me for the first time in 6 months, which is a big progress for me. Like that's a big progress. Like earlier, this used to be very normal every other day. Like this is like first in 6 months like this for a few days. As if like I feel sick. I don't feel like doing anything. It's like that. Okay. Now I know it is what it is right now. Okay. I've learned to be a little kind to myself. So last couple of days I've been slowing down a bit and taking a little bit of rest because my body needs a little rest and I am seeing that. And I've been watching some television. And I noticed the first day I came back from a travel, okay, and my body was very tired. The first day my mind was going like, you're not productive. Like, what are you doing? Like blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And I went like, okay. I just noticed it and that's it. And I continued watching and I enjoyed watching what I watched and it came back again and the next day and the next day. But I actually noticed that's not true. I've been very productive. I've been doing a lot of things in my own way at home and even in my business. I've had lovely conversations, but it was different. It was not very regular. Like, for example, at certain period of time, my mind has rules. It says, you've got to be in office at this point of time. So I see the lie in that narrative, in that familiar thoughts which comes, okay? I see the lie of that. And I see the truth behind what brings me alive. For example, last 2-3 days, I've been walking a little more than normally I've been walking off late. It's very hot out here, by the way, okay? This is the peak of summer, okay? It's very humid and very hot. So I've been changing t-shirts like crazy and taking bath like 3 times, perhaps more. Okay? It's sticky. So evenings, like it feels a little better. I've been going on walks and last few months, I've not been walking like this. I've been walking in my own way, but not in this place. This place, I go on long walks, like 1 hour and perhaps more. And last couple of days, I've been walking and I just felt like, wow, it doesn't feel hot here. It was windy and it was beautiful. It wasn't hot. I was sweating, but I didn't have a problem sweating. And I came alive. And I was doing everything which needed my attention. Really. Things which really needed my attention, I was doing. All of it. I'm noticing that now. Earlier, I used to believe the narrative and miss things which I was doing because I was busy thinking I should be doing something else. Okay? I'm noticing both. I'm noticing the lie and I'm also noticing things which I'm doing. Okay? So I've been quite productive at home, doing some stuff with my wife, very important stuff towards our future. Beautiful conversation with my partner, my brother, who's also my partner, which is opening doors for a new road for us together. Okay. I didn't make any of that happen. It's happening. Because I'm not doubting my intention, if you know what I mean. So that's what I think is my grounding, going back to my intention. Why am I in this path? Okay. Why am I in this path? So, and I remember, I'll see if I can pick that quote somewhere. It's somewhere there. Okay. A quote from one of my newfound teacher. I know, I'm sure you know Steve Hardison. Okay. So Steve says, the antidote for worry is work. Now, obviously, when he says work, he's talking about work you love doing. And today, that came back to me in a whole new way because I was walking today. I was not walking because I thought I needed to walk, if you know what I mean. Oh, I got to get rid of these thoughts. Like, so I need to walk now types. I was just walking and I was serving a few people, like sending them some voice messages. And it just brought me alive in a whole new way because I've been wanting to do this yesterday. And I didn't do this yesterday. I couldn't do it yesterday. It didn't feel right. And today it just felt right. And I felt like it just brought me alive in a whole new way. I felt like, wow, indeed, the antidote for worry is work. Work which brings you alive, work which is fearless, work which makes you feel whole of life. So I thought, I have done my part of serving today. Okay? In that few minutes, I did my part. And because it came from a clean field with no weeds, no agenda, pure intention. Okay? I really wanted to send them something, and I sent them. These are my clients, to-be clients and friends. Okay? I work with people one-to-one, so I keep in touch with them, and I check on them, and I share stuff, and I check what's happening in their life. That's how I work, okay? And find ways to serve in the moment what feels right. So what feels right in the moment, listening to that voice and honoring it is my way of experiencing fearlessness and the fullness of life, because that touches not just me. Like, I came alive after that, and I know that will touch someone, but I may not know that immediately. I may not know that. Okay. So I don't know what makes sense in that for you.
So much. It's beautiful. What I heard in the way you were relating your story over the past few days, feeling yourself caught up in thought in ways that you haven't in 6 months, was that the end of insecurity doesn't mean you never have insecure thoughts or that you never feel insecure. But what I heard in you was That's a lie. That's not real. Like, it doesn't look real. Or you can see that it's happening, and maybe it does feel real, but you know that it's not. You know that you don't have to put your attention on it. And what I hear in the antidote to worry, it's so simple. Like, fall in love with your life and live it. And for you, work and service, the fullness of that, stepping into it, living fearlessly and fully. You just don't have to be stopped by giving your attention to those things like worry and insecurity. It's sort of like when sometimes I know I have a coaching session or a conversation like this coming up, and I might be very caught up in my own mind chatter. But I sit down and I give my attention to the work before me. And in this way, the way you're saying it feels like sacred work, like it's not an obligation or a job. It's like, what's mine to do? And here I am. Here I am with mood. Here I am listening. Here I am just being. And I don't have to give my attention to anything else. And when I do that, there's a full, rich experience that reveals itself to me. I am kind of wondering about what you see as the difference between having a clear intention and trying to control things. Because I think it can seem confusing. But I'm not hearing that in what you're saying, and I want to know more about it, like how that looks to you.
So a clean intention to me, okay. So a clean intention to me is when I'm doing something for the sake of pleasing all of creation, the source of creation, the one who created you and me, the one who powers everything. And a not so clean intention is when I'm doing to please someone or change my circumstance, when I think I need to do this so that blah, 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 blah. Now, when I say this, firstly, got to step back and first say that I heard someone say this. I don't need to do anything. Nobody ever needs to do anything. That doesn't mean they stop working. That means that they don't need to. The need to is the illusion of despair, the neediness. The neediness does not come from circumstance. The neediness comes from the thinking about the circumstance, which means it's coming from me, not outside. So when I see that, it's coming from my thinking about my circumstance or anything else about people, what people are saying, and blah, blah, blah. That's freedom. The freedom of seeing how well we are built, that we don't need to do anything to be okay. because we are always okay. And when I say okay, what I mean is like a baby, we are always okay. We're taken care of. Okay? Our survival is never at risk. It feels that way. Yeah. Last 3 days, it definitely felt like my survival is at risk. I got to do something, or I better do something. When that comes, that's a sure lie, because I very clearly see how well we are made, the divine design of how you, me, and everybody are made. So when I know that, I really know that now. I see that more clearly now. The kindness of the design, the profoundness of the design, the love behind the design, the mastery behind the design. So which means I can choose to use my time and myself for something which I want to, really. So when the neediness ends, or at least you stop taking that as the truth, we are very productive. You're very creative. And reality becomes much clearer. It's like, I don't know who said this again, it's like driving in the fog. You actually can see a little. That's not true that you can't see anything. You can see a little. Okay. In fact, when I came back from a travel and we went up in the hills, and there was a point where my wife was in the front and I was sitting at the back, and she didn't say anything, but she was freaking out. She was looking at the driver because it was all white. It was so white, and it's the hills, like steep hills. I knew. I was sitting at the back, and I knew, like, I was wondering, like, how is he driving? Because I was able to see the white lines on the road. Now, I'm a driver. Okay, so I know that. My wife isn't. Okay, so I asked the driver, hey, how are you driving? Okay. He couldn't say. He said, I know it. I do this every day. No, I understand that, but how are you doing that? He couldn't say, because he hasn't articulated that till now, but he knows he's done the job. I asked him, is that something to do with the road? He said, that's true. There are white lines there. I said, like, to me, and that was a relief to my wife, by the way.
Very kind of you to notice so that she could hear that too.
So she relaxed. So when our minds are busy, we can't see far. And it's very unkind and not in service of anyone, especially not in service of yourself, to try to see. That's a lot of hard work. But it's not true that you can't see. You can see a little. Irrespective of how busy your mind is, you can see a little. And that's just enough to take the next step. Okay. And the next, and the next, and the next. That's all it takes. The truth is, you can't see far. We are not made to see far. The illusion is like, I got to know what's happening tomorrow and day after and a year from now and 10 years from now. We're not built like that. That's the humility of the way we are made. And I see that as that's a kind design, because our mind can't do the what do you call it? The overload. It's so small. It can only take a very little overload, okay? Load, not overload, load. But there's somebody else who's doing the hard work of, of making things happen. You don't have to think of oxygen in the room. I'm sure you have enough oxygen in your room right now, okay? You're not doing much for that, okay? I'm not doing anything about the water level in my eyes right now. It's just intact. Will this be there tomorrow? I don't know. So that's the humility of seeing what's in my control, what isn't. Like this is pure common sense of seeing what's in my control, what is in. And this brings in power in the powerlessness of our divine design. Putting attention in where we have control and where we don't. And where we have control is what we want to do in the now. What we want to use our life with. When we know I don't have to do anything. But the thing is, we all want to serve. If somebody says, no, 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 I don't want to, that's a lie. A baby serves. That's in our DNA. We're built like that. So there is, so when the illusion falls off of the neediness of what I think I need to be okay, there is this whole new choice of making an intention to please the one who is providing everything. Okay. Now, the reason I'm saying please, by the way, we are pleasing someone or other. That's the truth. I'm at the least pleasing my own thoughts, my own ego. So that's how it works. But when I know I'm pleasing one person, which is not a person, by the way, the intelligence behind life, because the intelligence behind life, it's like a way of saying, I don't know how best to articulate this. I'm going to easily say, please God. But if somebody has a lot of thinking about the word God, then just have some other word there. Okay? Because there is only one master. And when I see that, I don't give power to anything else to be the master. And that gives me power, if you know what I mean. When I take away power from things which actually does not have power, then I use it to create things which I want to create, which is in best interest of more than me. It just happens like that. That's the design. So that's why the easiest thing for me to see is my intention. Like what's my intention right now? What's going on right now for me? Mm. That's in my control.
Mm-hmm. The sense that I had when you were saying that, Mood, is that when it looks like these wild plants that grow up in your field, these random thoughts have control, are taking you, are what's actually happening, mean something about you, that creative energy that moves through us, that reality creating power that we have through the vehicle of thought is given to those things, is focused on those things and creates with that. But when you see that that is not the intention that you want, when you take your attention. And again, like I'm shifting my whole body to the left because it's like, nope, not that, this. It is when you stop giving your attention to what is not, what is uses you. And then what I'm hearing about what you're saying is that you are used for a purpose greater than you. The universe uses you. And it's not that it's not about you. Why wouldn't you choose that? It's perfect for you as the unique being, the vehicle that you are. And then that power is aligned to create with that, with what is instead of what isn't.
I like when you said, what is uses you. I love that. I really, really love that. Yeah.
It's how it feels. It feels like there's something that is mine to do, that now step, that just that little thing that I can see right here. And it's so simple. It's just a part of being alive. The movement, it is the very same intelligence that knows how to keep my eyes moist and my lungs breathing and convert oxygen from the air. Like what? I don't even know conceptually how that works, let alone can I actually do it. I don't know how to breathe, and I breathe all day long. And there's something that is mine to do. And when I'm not focused on what isn't, I just do it. It just does itself through me. And I hear that in the intention, like the intention to be with what is and be of service.
Yeah. And the simplest form of service is when I learn to serve myself, I automatically serve others. And serving myself is not in a very egoistic way. It's the opposite. Listening to what is in the moment, in your words. I would say the intelligence behind life, communicating to you in the moment, telling you what needs to happen right now, what needs to get created right now through you. It's very subtle, it's very gentle, but it just feels right. That's serving self. When I am listening to that, knowing, I don't know how else to say this, but to flow with it, to flow with that guidance, to flow with that. Something happens which is beyond imagination. Every moment, it doesn't look extraordinary, but it feels extraordinary when we slow down and see it. So that's why I'm calling it living fully. And what I mean by living fully is you actually, so that guidance is so kind that it tells you what you need in the moment, which most of the time we don't know what we need in the moment. It gives us what we need in the moment and what somebody else in our company needs in the moment too. You can't know it before. It just happens like that. It is so beautiful. So beautiful. And the best way I can explain that with a metaphor is like, I can't serve much when I'm hungry. Though my intention is still good, but in our case, the insecurity feels like we are hungry. We need something. In our case, we are never hungry. We are never made like that. Okay. It may feel like that. So when I'm not hungry, when I really, really know that I feel hungry, but I'm not, I can't be, the quality of serving myself and others, it's at a whole new level, but it's very simple. What you do might seem very simple, but it may not be simple for someone else. So and that's how masterpieces got created in the world, and it gets created in the world, and the one who was creating the masterpiece, they never knew it's a masterpiece before they were creating or during they were creating. They just knew after. And what I know about us is we are a masterpiece ourselves. There's one Stephanie and there is one Muddassir, and there is only one, whoever is listening, put your name there. There is only one, and there will be only one. And which is evidence for me, by the way. I really saw that once, and it snapped me out of every other narrative I had in my head about me. Now, that is evidence enough for me to know, oh, that's something. That's definitely something. We are all uniquely made. So what comes out of a masterpiece is a masterpiece by itself. And I get to be that in the moment. Anyways, we can go on and on and on, my friend.
We can. I'm so enjoying just listening. I do want to say how good it is for me to hear again. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And when we drop out of that neediness, out of that, the lie of need, there's so much that we will just naturally do. So much is done through us. And it doesn't feel like work that's hard, though it may sometimes be challenging. Really good to hear that. Yeah. So I'm curious. You had said that new things are being created. What are you up to these days? What are the intentions that are coming to you?
I work with people one-to-one, so that continues. That's plain and simple. That's the core work. There's a 3PGC webinar happening, which I resisted.
Saw it.
Did you see that?
I saw it. I was so excited.
Yeah, I have been kind of resisting that and I want to do it, not do it. And I felt like I really wanted to do it. And I'm doing that with a lovely coach friend. She's my mentor too, Catherine Jones from Australia. And we are doing something which is we were inspired to do. I don't know if you know the topic. Do you know the topic?
Did you go and check it out? I don't remember. Tell me.
Okay. So the topic is, what do 3Ps and Islam have in common? So that came together for us. So looking forward for that. Yeah. And that's it for now.
Beautiful. I think that the very best representation of what you're up to is just your presence. How you've shown up here today, which I feel quite confident that anyone listening would have an experience of. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Steph. This was beautiful.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wildspire email from me filled with inspiring stories, unmarketing experiments, tips for playing your way to impact and income without the hustle and hype, insights from my spiritual business journey, and more, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/Wildspire. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.